Some people walk into a room and immediately begin searching for approval. Not consciously, not desperately, just quietly. They adjust the way they speak, the way they laugh, even the opinions they express, until they become someone the room is more likely to accept. And then, there are the rare few who never seem to do that. They don't need everyone to agree with them. They don't panic when they're misunderstood. They don't feel the urge to explain themselves to people who have already made up their minds. At first glance, it almost looks like confidence. But psychology suggests something even more interesting. People who never seek validation often aren't trying to appear strong. They simply stop believing that their worth could be decided by other people's opinions. And that changes everything. From the moment we're born, our brains are designed to seek approval. A smile from a parent, praise from a teacher, acceptance from friends. For thousands of years, belonging wasn't just comforting, it was survival. Being rejected by your tribe often meant facing the world alone. So the human brain evolved to fear rejection almost as much as physical danger, which is why criticism hurts, which is why embarrassment feels physical, which is why so many people spend their entire lives trying to be liked. Not because they're weak, but because they're human. Yet something fascinating happens as certain people grow older. Little by little, they begin questioning a belief they never realized they had. The belief that everyone must approve of them. And once that belief begins to disappear, something unexpected replaces it. Freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever they want, but the freedom to disappoint people without feeling guilty for existing. You'll notice these people rarely argue just to win, not because they can't, because they no longer feel the need to prove they're right. Most arguments aren't searches for truth, they're competitions for validation. Each person secretly hoping, if I can convince you, maybe I'll finally feel certain about myself. But certainty borrowed from other people never lasts. The next disagreement simply starts the process all over again. People who no longer depend on validation understand this. Sometimes, silence protects your peace better than the perfect comeback ever could. One of the biggest misconceptions is that people who don't seek validation don't care what others think. That isn't true. They still value advice, they still appreciate encouragement, they still enjoy being loved. The difference is that these things become gifts instead of necessities. There's a strange kind of peace that arrives when compliments become pleasant instead of essential. Another habit begins to disappear: comparison. Think about it. If your value depends on other people's opinions, then every successful person becomes a threat. Someone else's achievement quietly feels like your failure. Someone else's beauty feels like your insecurity. Someone else's popularity feels like your invisibility. But once validation is no longer your source of worth, comparison slowly loses its purpose. You begin admiring people instead of competing with them. Ironically, these individuals often appear more confident than everyone else, not because they believe they're better, but because they're no longer measuring themselves every 5 minutes. Confidence isn't always loud. Sometimes, confidence looks like refusing to explain yourself. Sometimes, it looks like saying no, without writing a 5-page apology afterward. Here's the part most people never notice. The less someone tries to impress others, the more interesting they often become. There's something naturally attractive about people who aren't chasing attention, because authenticity is surprisingly rare. In a world where everyone is carefully managing how they're perceived, genuine people stand out without trying to. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. Nobody simply wakes up one morning completely free from validation. Life has a way of teaching it. Failure teaches it. Rejection teaches it. Being misunderstood teaches it. Eventually, you realize something almost comforting. No matter how carefully you behave, someone will misunderstand you. Someone will dislike you. Someone will criticize you. And strangely, accepting that reality feels lighter than trying to prevent it. Psychologists often talk about something called an internal compass. Most people live using an external one. They constantly ask, "What will people think?" An internal compass asks something different. Does this align with who I want to become? One question creates anxiety. The other creates direction. The truly remarkable people aren't those who never receive validation. They're the ones who continue moving even when validation doesn't arrive. Because purpose survives where approval disappears. Maybe that's why history remembers so many misunderstood people. Inventors, artists, writers, scientists, thinkers. Many of them were ignored, criticized, or even ridiculed during their lifetime. Had they depended entirely on approval, their greatest work might never have existed. Sometimes, believing in your own direction has to come before the world believes in it too. Perhaps the greatest freedom a person can experience is realizing they don't have to audition for acceptance anymore. They don't have to earn the right to exist, or speak, or dream, or simply be themselves. Because the people who truly belong in your life won't require you to become someone else to deserve their respect. In the end, people who never seek validation aren't fearless. They still feel doubt. They still experience rejection. They still wonder if they're making the right decisions. The difference is that they refuse to let those feelings become the author of their lives. And maybe that's the quiet psychology behind a life that feels genuinely free. If this perspective resonated with you, I truly appreciate you spending these few moments with me. If you'd like to see more psychology videos exploring the hidden patterns behind everyday human behavior, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Until next time, take care of yourself and never stop trying to understand the extraordinary mind you carry every single day.